Hello, this is Will Schlecht from IronCrow AI, and I have an update for N-Spec. It's been a while since we've had something new for N-Spec, so I'm excited to share that we've built some MCP tools. Or I guess we've built a way to use N-Spec through MCP, which is the Model Context Protocol. That means you can now use the features of N-Spec through AI, through other AI interfaces including the one I'm going to be giving a demo of today, which is Claude Desktop, but this isn't limited to Claude Desktop, and I'm not necessarily endorsing any particular AI front end. ChatGPT will work as well, or you can build your own AI. MCP is basically an API that is built specifically for LLMs to call. And so it allows you to, if you're working in these spaces already, using ChatGPT, using Claude, you can now add some deterministic intelligence in the form of the IronCrow's N-Spec tools. So, like a lot of things with technology, the most difficult part is probably setting it up. And there are different ways to set it up depending on which um, AI interface you are using. I'm going to show you Claude. I think it's a bit beyond the scope of this endeavor to try to cover every possible different way that you could connect with MCP. And the tools, MCP is still pretty new. So I think I don't know, the user experience of connecting different MCP tools is going to improve over time. I think Claude's is probably, or the Claude desktop interface is probably the most kind of streamlined so far. Um, but hopefully it gets much easier in time. So without further ado, let's get started with the actual demo. So I've opened Claude Desktop here. This is it's just a free, I don't have a subscription or anything, so no safe conversations, just a completely vanilla interface like what you would see if you downloaded Claude Desktop and started using it today. In order to add an MCP tool, you need to go to the left task pane over here and click on Customize. That'll open a bunch of stuff. We are interested in the connectors down here. And they have like a default GitHub integration connector. We want to add a connector. Um, you can browse connectors, and it would be nice at some point to put NSpec in the catalog, like the official catalog of the tools or connectors. That way you could add it through their connector store. But for now, you can add it using a custom connector. And it's actually pretty simple, so hopefully it's not too much work. But in order to add a custom connector, you need to give it a name. So we'll call this IronCrow. And then you need to, the most complicated part, I think, of connecting to IronCrow is adding the MCP server URL. And what that is, and maybe I'll put it in the description of this video, but it's https ironcrowai.com/MCP. So that's where it needs to try to connect. That's where the LLM kind of needs to connect to access the different tools that we provide. So click add, and now it will connect to that tool. It will auto-populate the different tools that we have. And you can see we have all of the N-Spec features like checking antecedent basis, checking figure consistency. We also have the ability to search prosecution entities. So our prosecution statistics, so examiner statistics, art unit statistics, those are also available via MCP, which is amazing, actually. It's really helpful. And it really helps when you say you're using the art unit predictor from N-Spec. Okay, you've predicted art units, so now you want to pull up the actual outcomes. Like, what does it mean that you're probably going to be assigned to a particular art unit? Well, now, if you're using some AI tool that has access to the IronCrow MCP, it can then follow up by searching the allowance rates, the average like rejection rejections issued per allowance. You can search that information using the prosecution search endpoint here. So very helpful. So that's great. We've added it, but we haven't yet authenticated. So I'll kind of show you how that works. So we've got our connector going, and let's have a new chat. And what I'll do is just say, hi, can you draft some example claims and then check them for antecedent basis using the IronCrow, well, MCP. So have it do that. It's gonna go through a little multi-step process. It's gonna search for tools that it has available. It found the IronCrow tool. It's gonna draft some claims and then format the request. But we haven't yet authenticated, right? So at this point, you could be any user on Earth. We don't know that you actually have subscription to IronCrow. So in order to use these, because N-Spec is a paid service, you need to click the connect button. It will open a browser tab, and it will then ask you to authenticate your session, basically. So we've got a test account here, and we'll log in. And then it's going to ask if we want to authorize Claude to access the IronCrow AI MCP tools. And so even though this is kind of in the category of an N-Spec tutorial, this MCP process is the same for all of our tools, and we're going to hopefully be adding more in the future. As I've already discussed, that includes the free tool, the prosecution statistics tool, but it will also hopefully include things like OA shell and tools from the LLM sandbox. Will also be accessible through MCP in the future. So basically the process for connecting will be the same. And then whatever your, authentication, like whatever subscriptions you have through IronCrow will also be accessible via MCP. So hopefully that makes sense. It's just one connection point. So, all right, it ran the tool, and let's see if we can actually open the result. So it shows the request that it sent, and then it shows the response, which we've built kind of a special response format specifically for LLMs so that they can kind of more, without burning too many of their tokens, they can efficiently read the output. Obviously, N-Spec is usually producing output for humans to read through some kind of an interface, but in this case, it's basically all text-based, and therefore we have like a different way to encode that information so that it's kind of clear, unambiguous to the LLM, but also kind of token efficient. And then there we go. The response that you get back, I mean, so now the LLM has this information deterministically reduced, which is great because that's really where LLMs can fall short, is having very reproducible, deterministic output. So especially when it comes to something like quality assurance, you don't want to just ask an LLM to check your claims for antecedent basis or for it to guess the probability that it's going to go to a different art unit than you want, or that's way beyond the scope of what even current LLMs can do. So having these tools in combination with the power of AI is very powerful. And so here, yeah, it gave an output disclosing the different antecedent basis issues in the claims it had generated. You can also upload a file, so you can upload a specification to your conversation and then ask it to submit the contents of that file to N-Spec to have the proofreading features run on that tool. One thing I'll say as kind of a warning for using MCP, I mean, there's probably lots of warnings, but the one I'm going to give is the way that most of these tools writes this response. So you can see it basically put all of these claims, it wrote them, right? So it's generating these as output tokens, which cost you money. Um, IronCrow doesn't get paid for, whatever AI subscriptions you have. So, that's we have no conflict of interest here for sure. But that burns a lot of tokens. It costs a lot. I don't think most LLM tools have the ability to copy paste, so they have to actually generate each token. I don't want to go too far onto this tangent, but basically what that means is if you tell the tool, like, here's a file, here's 100-page specification, please check it for patent profanities, antecedent basis issues, etc., it's going to have to rewrite that entire 100-page document, which will burn through a lot of tokens. So um, probably they're going to get better. They're going to be some more efficient tools, and there's probably already some ways to do that. But I know that at least for like ChatGPT and for Claude, the two main ones, they're currently just rewriting everything, and that takes a long time and burns a lot of tokens, and it's probably not the behavior that you would expect. So I think it's really helpful right now. This tool, especially N-Spec, is for proofreading claims. I know I have some users who really prefer to pull in a lot of different pieces of information from their different kind of data silos using some agent and then draft initial claims. And then having NSpec live in that same interface, that same kind of data aggregator AI that you're using, is pretty powerful. But just know that the utility doesn't extend that naturally to some of the other features of NSpec just because it's going to cost a lot of tokens. It's all theoretically possible. You absolutely can. Um, and for the LLM sandbox, which is IronCrow's native AI, we have an agent mode which also has access to NSpec and the prosecution statistics and everything. But because I'm able to build how that tool works and I can build it specifically for these types of tasks, I do have a copy paste feature. So it will be much more token efficient to use the LM sandbox and faster. But yeah, just a caveat. So that is probably just the tip of the iceberg. We're going to add more MCP tools, and there are other NSpec features that we can use. But I think the main thing is just learning how to get it connected, knowing that these tools exist. Yeah, and if you're already an NSpec subscriber, these tools are free, so no additional cost. So thank you very much, and that's the end of this demo.